A warm welcome to all of you on behalf of Aditya Birla Sun Life AMC for yet another episode of Your Market Navigator MFDR series. जैसे कि आप जानते हैं कि ये हमारी एक स्पेशल सीरीज है जहां हमारी कोशिश होती है कि हमारे देश के जो टॉप एडवाइजर्स हैं वो आए इस प्लेटफॉर्म पर और हमारे फंड मैनेजर्स से बात करें, ऐसे सवाल पूछे जो आमतौर पे हमारे एडवाइजर्स और हमारे निवेशक पूछना चाहते हैं। इसी श्रृंखला को आगे बढ़ाते हुए आज हमारे साथ जुड़े हैं हमारे स्पीकर श्री धवल गाला जी, जो बात करेंगे बैंकिंग एंड फाइनेंशियल सर्विसेज फंड और इस सेक्टर के ऊपर। और साथ ही सवाल पूछने के लिए आज के हमारे सेशन के जो मॉडरेटर हैं वो हैं श्री अनंत लड्ढा जी। इससे पहले कि मैं इन दोनों को आमंत्रित करूं, मैं इन दोनों का एक इंट्रोडक्शन आपको दे देता हूं। So Dhaval Gala is a fund manager and senior analyst with Aditya Birla Sun Life AMC Limited. He has an overall experience of 15 years in equity and capital market space. He joined ABSL AMC in February 2011 as part of the equity fund management and analyst team. He specializes in banking and financial services sector. Prior to joining ABSL AMC, Dhaval has worked with B&K Securities and JP Morgan Chase India. Dhaval is an MBA in finance from NL Dalmia Institute of Management and Research, Mumbai. Welcome for today's session, Dhaval.
Hey, good evening. Good evening to all the listeners and viewers.
Let me now invite our moderator for the session today, Mr. Anant Lagdha. Don't be mistaken by his young age because the kind of experience that he carries is very, very high. And this is perhaps one of the most exhaustive introductions for a mutual fund advisor that I am going to be reading out in my career. So let me start. In terms of educational background, Anant is a chartered accountant, chartered financial analyst, certified financial planner, FPSB certified investment planner, retirement planner, insurance planner and estate planner, LLB and BCom. Anant has been awarded by Rajasthan government for his financial literacy sessions for saving investors from financial blunders and spreading financial awareness. He's been seen several times as an expert on Bloomberg, ET Now, Z Business, Money9. His articles and cover stories have featured in publications like Outlook Money, Money Life, Hindustan Times, Dalal Street Investment Journal, NDTV, World News, Live Mint, The Week, DNA, Times of India, Bloomberg Point, Economic Times, Rajasthan Patrika, Dainik Bhaskar. The list just goes on and on. Also, Anant is a YouTuber with over 5.5 lakh subscribers on his channel Invest Aaj for Kal. He's been awarded also as the Creator on the Rise India by YouTube India in May 2020. He's conducted over 300 sessions on finance and wealth creation under Financial Literacy Session, a program recognized by the state government twice. He's a CA Institute trainer and has conducted over 100 sessions on topics such as motivation, argument handling, how to focus, and interview skills. He's often called at the HCM office by government officials for training to be given to government people. He's addressed over 15,000 students on Career Utsav 2019 on the topic of focus, addressed over 10,000 students in Career Conclave 2020. He also runs a 25-year-old investment firm with over 10,000 plus investors all across the country. And he's been awarded as Tech Guru and the most client-friendly advisor of India by MFRT. That was a brief introduction of Anant Lagdha from Kota, Rajasthan. Anant, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Prashant sir, for such a sweet introduction. I think probably this was my also best introduction till date given by anyone. Means a lot to me. And good evening, everyone.
So our pleasure to have you on this platform, Anant, today to talk to Dhaval on banking financial services as a sector and the fund that Dhaval manages. Over to you to take this conversation forward, Anant.
Thank you so much once again, Prashant sir. Hi, Dhaval. How are you? Good evening.
Hey, good evening, Anant. Very nice to hear about you, and it would be a good next 1 hour session that I think you would ask great questions. Maybe all the mutual fund advisors wants to ask.
Surely, Dhaval, and thank you so much for the appreciation. To start off, Dhaval, I think what is your market outlook? Right now, we are standing at 17,700 Nifty. What probably do you think will be next market trigger?
So definitely, I would not like to give a outlook. The word outlook seems to be fairly cliched these days, and a lot of stuff do change very often or very fast, which we've seen over the last 1.5 to 2 years. What I can say, if one has to look at a medium-term outlook as such, right? I understand that the question you're asking is that where does the market go from here rather than where does everything else go from here. So very clearly, see today, if one has to look at markets, definitely globally, all the markets are at all-time high. Means if you compare, it's not just Indian markets which has done well in the last 1.5 years, but it's been a global phenomenon, and it's been driven by easy liquidity around all the markets, and India being one of the key beneficiary, because India's growth is faster. India has done well even in COVID and post COVID. So definitely India has attracted a lot of foreign flows in the last 1.5-2 years also, despite pandemic and despite COVID-19 wave 1, wave 2. So if one has to look at from pure multiples, market multiples, definitely market looks a little expensive. And there could be near-term caution, which I would not like to just give, because as we are looking at stuff or things which are changing in India as well as the globe, a lot of people have started looking India in a very strategic and a long-term manner. And obviously for various reasons, one being China, US relations, as well as the way China has not been able to demonstrate good growth even post-COVID. Compared to what India has been able to deliver in the last 12 months. I'm talking about last 12 months, which is after the first lockdown, big lockdown the country had, right? National lockdown which India had. So if one has to look at from all that perspective, India has actually done well. I'll give a very simple answer to your things is, we as a fund management team, which is based of a lot of, almost 10 analysts, senior analysts, as well as 8 odd fund managers, we generally keep doing exercise of expectations on earnings and keep seeing economic indicators. Today, most of the economic indicators are reaching pre-COVID levels. I'm not saying they're doing very, very well, but they're reaching pre-COVID levels. That's most important point of recovery point. And the second important point is, even after the wave 2 impact, which happened between April to September 2020, April to June 2021, we did not see any earnings downgrade as such, at least for the top 100 companies. For the analysis, we keep doing the Nifty earnings or the BSE 100 index earnings. We've not seen any material downgrades in earnings. That is one of the key hallmark. Now, the bigger drivers for that, largely, if you want us to look at, is the formal economy or the larger is getting larger, largest maybe to say. Then also the bigger companies or larger share in that particular sector or economy is driven by the bigger companies materially, and they have not got so much impacted because of COVID. By the way, they have actually benefited a lot. And if you look at in India, there has been new listings, right? Recent listing was Zomato. There would be hosts of newer unicorn stroke, internet stroke, fintech stroke, many companies within the tech element per sector. Every sector is going to get listed or is likely to get listed in India as well as globally, which also drives Indian market or Indian market cap as such. So that also, you see the numbers, they've actually benefited a lot because of COVID waves or work from home stroke, a lot of utilization of telecom technology as well as digital adoption by most of the industries. So maybe a little longish answer to put a conclusion. We are looking at earnings growth. That's looking very good. Yes, price to earning, price to book multiples for broader markets have gone up above average. So one will have to look at it a bit cautiously for a very near-term outlook as such. But from a 3 years, 5 years point of view, India is looking very attractive. Maybe this answer seems to be cliched that everyone says 3 and 5 years looking very attractive. Over the course of next hour, maybe I'll be able to clarify a few stuff that why we still think markets can give you positive surprise.
Dhaval, right now, everyone is anxious about US tapering. US Fed has said that they will not be tapering by 2023. But do you think this can also impact our market, and in what ways?
So as I said, Anand, very important, all the global indices one tracks, whether it is stock market indices, commodity indices, crude oil price, if one has to look at, most of the indices or the prices are materially higher than where it was prior to COVID wave 2020. Okay. So one important point is definitely people are giving a lot of importance to QE tapering, which they should be getting or giving, because there is a humongous liquidity. One, if I was to look at India as such, Indian government did not spend the way, or we did not expand our balance sheets the way maybe US or most of the Western economies have done. So ideally, one should not get so much of impact in India from an economic point of view. Now, coming to market expectations or market outlook, I have no real answer that when does the tapering actually happen, right? Because there are fairly different moving parts to it. Because the growth which is coming back today is a lot of growth which is to do with pent-up demand plus liquidity driven by end consumers. So yes, inflation is propping up materially, but we need to see whether it's a sticky inflation or a transitory inflation. I'm talking about US markets, not India. So we cannot give a right answer to it immediately, but I would suggest that tapering could be not happening very soon, at least in the current next 3 to 6 months time frame in a material manner. But end game कहीं ना कहीं तो शुरू होगा, तो ऐसा नहीं है कि कभी नहीं होगा, और ऐसा भी नहीं है कि it will have a what I feel is that because of the current volatility and a lot of price rise which happens in a very fast or swift manner, one may see some sharp corrections also because of that. You keep seeing 2-3 days correction every now and then, which feels like अरे इतना सब कुछ कैसे हो रहा है करके. But the only point is that I don't see it will lead to a correction which we've seen in the last 3-4 years after any bull market immediately. So we'll have to watch that chapter how it unfolds. But it doesn't look like end of bull markets or end of market rallies.
So basically, you are trying to say that we might have healthy correction, but crash is something जो हमें अभी लग नहीं रहा है कि इतनी जल्दी हो जाएगा, right?
Yeah, very clearly, and there are many reasons to look at it that manner. See, one very clearly, we are internal dependent country. मतलब अपना demand and our economy is running a lot to do with all Indian companies as well as inward facing companies. We are not so much of export oriented economy as such, the way China is getting impacted today. Second, we are benefiting out of China impact. Lot of global companies or countries are looking India very positively. Point number 3, you look at a lot of see what has happened from I'll give a banking twist to this. We did not push a lot of liquidity. Government did not give a lot of credit waiver in the last year to all the people. They did announce few schemes, but they were not like a waiver such the way which has been done, or they've not given money in the end users wallet or end users bank accounts the way it has happened in US or many other countries. So in that sense, whatever inflation we are having or whatever growth we are seeing, it is actually a healthy growth and not a temporary or transient what US economy has today, or that's what the forecaster there or the global economists feel. So we do not have that most important problem at this juncture. Second, as I mentioned, our demographics or our fundamentals are doing very well. Only problem we will face would be rising rates, interest rates, with not commensurate rising growth, if that has to happen. I think the current RBI governor as well as finance ministry has done very well to manage the show. Yes, we could have done a lot of more reforms in the same time frame to bolster or fasten the economic growth, but we'll have to live with that.
Absolutely. Dhaval, moving forward, I would before we go on to the banking specific question, I would really like to know what is your basic mindset while framing your fund, and how do you actually select a stock that this is the stock which should be part of my portfolio. So what is your basic mindset while doing that?
So very good question, Anand. So one important stuff as a house, what we follow, right, our investment strategy or investment philosophy, right, is to look at GARP model, growth at reasonable price. We are not completely out and out growth focus Basically, we'll buy growth at any price. We are not at that level. Neither we are completely value oriented, or we only buy value companies. So we are somewhere middling part. Therefore, we try to do buy a lot of companies which few funds will not stick buy at all, right? Because of the investment philosophy they follow. The second, coming to what I look at analyzing a company, or most of my colleagues, the investment analysts look at is BMV as a concept, which is business management and valuation. We give a lot of importance to what is business model, what is the business, how it has been delivered, what has the management outlook, narrative, as well as how the management has actually understood the business model and the opportunity size, and how they have delivered relative to other competitors and the market itself. And then we look at valuations. So as I mentioned, growth at reasonable price. So we may look at Bajaj Finance. I'm just giving a very example in one of my sector, which would be very expensive company. But the delivery they have done, right? There are very few companies in India which has delivered 40% revenue growth, 40% bottom line growth for 10 consistent years. They've delivered far higher than that number between 2010 to 2020. Means, and 21 was F21 was a COVID impact year. So we'll have to see for what delivery, management delivery, and then we look at valuations. In financial services sector, the importance I give to BMV after BMV is C, which is capital, because my sector is a capital, basically a capital. We need regular capital infusions to grow the business.
Yeah.
So it's not just capital intensity, but it runs only on capital, actually speaking.
Capital.
So therefore, it's important that the managements are aware about the same and how they allocate capital, how they optimally use the capital. And the most important point, they raise capital beforehand, whether it is growth or likely problems. Because see, ultimately, we are a leverage sector. So BFSI is a leverage sector largely. Banks and lending businesses in the BFSI sector. So you need to be capital appropriate, or your balance sheet needs to be well capitalized for both growth as well as problems, which something was faced during the last 1.5 years. So this is how maybe we select a stock, I would say, looking at BMV concept. And ideal stock which will come in the portfolio would be where I see 15 to 20% steady earnings growth, because that is the earnings growth what we expect from market generally. Or market has our long-term expectations of economic growth is 9 to 10% today, which is next 2 to 3 years. Real economic growth. If you add the nominal GDP to that, basically the nominal numbers to that, it would be 12-13%, including inflation plus the rupee depreciation. And generally, equity markets have done 2 to 3% higher than that number. Now, if one cannot give higher than that on an average, then it will not warrant to be part of the portfolio. So philosophy, or from their starting point, this is something we would expect that the company can deliver 15 to 20%, more like a 20% number on an earnings compounding basis.
So that is particularly a hardcore growth style, but we are also looking at valuation so that we can get at a reasonable price, probably.
Right. So few companies can grow at 20% plus for next few years, but they might be pricing in 5 years growth today itself. Then we'll have to wait for some mispricing to happen. Or some days that the stock can come under some pressure. See, mispricing can be both the sides. Either it remains value stock for long periods, or it remains highly valued for a long period. So we'll have to juggle. That's a fund manager's dilemma, that he'll have to juggle between buying some stocks or some companies basis either earnings itself, or either waiting for the right time to enter.
So Dhaval, right now, looking at your portfolio, it looks like that you are very choosy about stocks. You have a very concentrated positions and selected 25-30 stocks always. So what is your mindset behind having a very concentrated positions? Because at times we have seen that recently also we have underperformed because of our heavy positions in some of these stocks. So what is your mindset behind that?
So, to give you a color or thought process of fund management and fund positioning of Aditya Birla Sun Life Banking and Financial Services Fund, very clearly, my index itself is fairly concentrated. Point number one. Point number two, we need, as I mentioned, try to identify companies which can grow faster and deliver consistent returns, right? If we tend to identify such companies, right, it can give you a multifold returns if you can hold that company and the company delivers for a period of 3 to 5 years. So that is a thought process at the beginning. And maybe that is the reason that we could identify, say, winners like Bajaj Finance, Bajaj Finserv, or an ICICI Bank, or ICICI General Insurance, SBI Life Insurance, HDFC Life Insurance, or many such companies, right? Many banks in the past, at the right time, we holded them for long periods, made alpha versus the benchmark. Now, definitely the underperformance versus the benchmark, right? So very few people know that when I talk about banking and financial services sector, I talk about financial services as a whole, and it is not just bank index. So you would be surprised to know that the last 10 years, right? I'm talking about the last 10 years, the Nifty would have delivered close to 13.5 to 13.7% CAGR returns. Bank Nifty has delivered just about a percentage, 70 bips to 1 percentage point higher than Nifty. And I'll come to why it is so small number, because we're talking about last 6-7 months where it has underperformed. But I'll first finish this example. But financial services index has actually outperformed more than 2% compounded for the last 10 years, the broader indices. So it is to do with the emergence of newer companies within the banking and financial services sector, and looking at holistic sector, not just banks. 10 years back, we used to always only look at public banks and private banks comparison. When we launched this fund, the question always came to from people's mind was, "Kya public sector bank loge nahi loge?" And my thought process was कि मैं सिर्फ banks के लिए ये fund नहीं खोल रहा हूँ. There would be NBFCs, insurance. There would be, तभी तो insurance companies list भी नहीं हुआ था, actually speaking. There were only 2 companies, that too through holding companies. And today insurance is a big pie. Maybe I'll just share one small PPT, which is of 2-3 slides, and which can give a lot of good answers to your questions, as well as it could be an interesting chart to be seen. This is sectoral price performance. So today, if you look at last 6 months, or we are talking about 2021 year to date, actually Bank Nifty, it's after a long period, have underperformed despite economic coming back. And this is largely to do with the COVID wave 2. Okay, and the impacts of wave 1, wave 2 put together. And if you look at the right side of the chart, right, is the chart visible to you, Anand?
Yeah, absolutely visible.
So if you look at large private banks are the key, and the mid-sized private banks, which are the key contributor to overall Nifty and Bank Nifty and index, have underperformed materially. Okay, PSU banks have done well, but largely driven by SBI, which is again a very concentrated portfolio in our portfolio positioning. Now to come to what has happened in the last 6-9 months, I'm just preempting your question. If you look at last 6 to 12 months, and why I'm bullish today on financial services sector or banking sector versus markets, or I'm looking to tell you that you should buy this fund, is that banks have actually done very well in the last 6 quarters versus what they did in the last many years. So you would be very well remembering that we had a very big corporate NPL cycle between 2015 to 20. Because of that hard lessons which banks have learned, right? This time around, when COVID entered, they did a lot of heavy provisioning upfront itself. So because of RBI's moratorium being given last year for 5 months, which is a big moratorium period, it's not a holiday. It was only a holiday from a time point of view. It was not a waiver. It was only EMI holiday. Banks actually still provided, and actually few banks reported loss or a significant decline in earnings, right? That all buffers came to help in the 3rd and the 4th quarter when moratoriums were taken up. taken back, and even in the first quarter this year when actually high NPLs came. So if you look at the large banks, right, they look at the provisions and the stressed loans, you can see most of the banks actually have provisionings today, buffers actually more than the overall stress loans they have. And when we talk about stress loans, we include the gross NPA plus the restructuring. Because of the COVID wave, there are many banks which have done restructuring to the smaller ticket loans, whether retail sector or MSME sector. And few of them may turn NPL, right, because of their problems, or if at all wave 3 has to come, COVID wave 3 has to come. So, and I need not speak a lot about vaccination drive and whether COVID wave 3 can come or not. I can only, because I'm not an expert on that subject, but if there is no big wave 3, and today, at least last 1.5 to 2 months, God's grace, fingers crossed, actually our performance on means if you look at COVID vaccination performance is very strong, and we are seeing fatalities reducing, and the Delta plus variant also has not spreaded, which was one of the fear, at least in the early parts of June, right? So fingers crossed, everybody should stay healthy and precautionary steps to be taken. But I think we are at least not looking at wave 3 or significant wave 3 impact on economy, and therefore banking companies or lending companies. One important point, this is one thing I wanted to drive. You look at this is very important chart. If people understand that, people will be able to understand that there is a multi-year story in financial services sector in India. See, you can see a big proportion. This is a 25-year price movement or market cap movement of all the financial services stocks in India. And you can see for the first 15 years, public sector bank had a bigger share. So now again, there is a limitation of this data that whenever companies get listed, may get listed at $10 billion market cap, or few may get at $15 billion or only $500 million, right? It could be small, big. We can add the data only from then. But point I'm trying to say is public sector banks were mainstays of the overall index, or they were the bigger chunks. You look at come to 2010, private banks actually became similar or better. Since then, you look at the emergence or the newer segments achieving speed, which is the insurance sector, even few NBFCs like Bajaj Finance, and maybe few capital marketplace or mutual fund companies also come into this segment. Now, the point I'm trying to tell you is you go and look at our fund positioning. Today also we have close to 20% of our portfolio in non-lending financials, which is either insurance or mutual fund related companies or rating agencies. So the point is, this is something I've been talking for last now few years. And this will answer your question that why outperformance or underperformance in select periods, right? So maybe a 3-year time frame back one has to look at. We had few NBFCs which did not do well after IL&FS. And we also had portfolio positioning in companies like Yes Bank or IndusInd Bank back then. Okay, so these did have a hard impact on the economy as well as their balance sheets, and that also impacted the portfolio performance in that periods of time. Since then, what we've been able to course correct the fund, right, is that we've been able to get into more steady non-lending financials, which will be a better compounder or higher compounder over a period of next few years. Now, why do I say that? When I say, what do I expect in banking or lending business growth? I spoke about the GDP growth or the nominal numbers to be at 10 to 12%. Credit growth generally is around that number or a 2 to 3 percentage point higher. When you look at insurance names or mutual fund companies or other non-lending businesses, fintechs could be one of the segments which today is not present in the market cap pie charts, but most of them are going to get listed at $10 billion or $12 billion or $20 billion, or some maybe at $5 billion. But they would again start getting or coming into portfolio positioning. We need to look at them very seriously, is what I'm saying. And I see there would be a growth in them in future. So the point is that maybe we keep giving importance to the newer segments also where there is merit, and stock selection, as I mentioned, remains. I am choosy, and we need to be choosy because we have to work towards generating outperformance or alpha. But to give it a final conclusion line is that the financial services sector is a broader indices has done well versus the bank Nifty index and versus the overall Nifty index in the last few years. And maybe that is the reason that I actually remain very bullish in the on the Aditya Birla Financial Services sector fund.
Dhaval, as we saw in the earlier chart that private sector banks capitalization have increased over last decade or so, and public sector banks capitalization have reduced in a significant manner. Going forward, what is your take right now? By seeing at your portfolio, we can see that you are quite bullish on private sector banks, maybe like ICICI Bank and stuff. What is your take going forward, private versus public banks?
So one, there is no take now. मतलब ये क्वेश्चन अभी एक्चुअली आनंद कोई नहीं पूछता है. So jokes apart, I remain very bullish on SBI right now in public sector banks, and maybe one or two more names in public sector space. But that is more of a value-driven stock thought process. State Bank of India is actually giving competition to ICICI Bank, Axis Bank, and HDFC Bank when it comes to doing all the new age things one should expect from a bank. So आपको मैं ये बता सकता हूँ कि बैंकिंग का मतलब आगे जाके मेट्रोमॉर्फोसिस कैसा होगा, कि ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन कैसे होगा, राइट? तो बैंक्स विल एक्चुअली टुडे they are going to have few more quarters of pain when it comes to doing business. Why? Because they have to compete with the Paytms, the Policy Bazaars, or the fintechs of the world on the business acquisition side. And these guys, many of these guys are attacking both sides of the balance sheet, which is loans, digital lending capabilities, as well as deposits or savings, whether it is insurance products or mutual fund products. A lot of fintech or wealth tech companies or insurtech companies are trying to get into that business, right? Maybe a lot of mutual fund distributors are also now going the digital way. So the point is, banks need to be equipped enough to either compete with them or they need to partner with them. In India, my opinion is the partnership model will do well. What I'm trying to say is today we cannot have a judgment that fintechs are going to be the winners for the next decade. But private banks or the larger banks with a strong liability franchise who can partner or who can have these type of platforms or technology enabled in their current technology stack would actually be the winners or beneficiaries of the economic growth plus the profit growth. The most important is that these companies need to report profits. I'm talking about the larger banks, etc., because they are a steady state companies. So they are going to grow between 15-20%, right? So you need to have that 15% plus ROE numbers. So PSU private is not a question or a thought process, but more question is who is the efficient bank, more efficient bank versus these disruptions which may arise in the sector, and they would be the outperformers of the next few years.
So Dhaval, even the capital market companies, especially the mutual fund companies, are slowly gathering their market capitalization and increasing the financial space. But right now we don't have any of the AMCs in our portfolio. Directly, we have CAMS, but directly we are not having.
So actually, I had a thought process to buy CAMS जब CAMS का listing हुआ था last year, exactly same time frame, और 1250 रुपए पे लिस्ट हुआ था स्टॉक. 1230 का IPO था, 1350 पे लिस्ट हुआ था. स्टॉक एक्चुअली 2.5-3 times हुआ है वहां से, ठीक है. And we had bought a decent position. You would have seen कि हमने concentrated holding तभी बना ली थी और हम होल्ड कर रहे हैं आज भी, काफी थोड़ा सा प्रॉफिट बुकिंग किया होगा. So I thought कि that was the best way to play AMC sector. And we missed on UTI AMC, and we did, and actually since then from then to now HDFC AMC has gone nowhere. So that was the view, actually speaking. So we thought it was best to play AMC sector through that. Maybe you can ask or tell that you could have had more higher allocation to the same, but that was not the case. That we thought that it was enough, or I thought कि जितना allocate किया था that was good enough. Again, now from here, if I have to look at how do I look at AMC sector and all, Today, they are trading at close to 30-35 times plus price to earning 1 year forward. And the way one looks at them, right? Maybe I feel the lending sector or the insurance sector has more value between the three segments. So therefore, maybe the positioning or the outperformance expectations are more driven towards lending sector first. Then maybe these segments in the next 6 months to 12 months time frame. So at an opportune time, opportune price, we may look to enter the AMC sector stock. If I look to exit camps, Baki, it's okay.
See, you said that you are comparatively more bullish on insurance segment. Why is it so?
So basically, if one has to look at insurance sector, right, very clearly, life insurance segment and general insurance segment has a potential to grow 15% CAGR for the next few years. Purely basis the penetration level one has to look at the India has from a general insurance penetration and the life insurance penetration versus the lending penetration India has. So from a general insurance penetration, if one has to consider, pandemic has helped increase health insurance or medical insurance premium growth rates, can actually see 30 to 40% growth for the next few years. But overall general insurance piece can grow at close to 15% to 20%, whereas lending growth could be only 10 to 15%.
Okay.
And you look at insurance names in India. So last year, what had happened when actually COVID wave came, right? The insurance, if one has to look at globally, interest rates are key important point to look forward to balance sheet composition of the insurance names. If one has to consider that very clearly, the balance sheets of life insurance companies in India are largely GSEC driven. And in India, GSEC or the interest rates have not fallen to the negative territory. And we have not sold products which are largely fixed interest rate products, or maybe products which generally global markets people sell, where they need to pay a fixed interest, whether the company is earning or not earning that much.
So
that is one of the reasons that Indian insurance balance sheets as well as businesses are more resilient versus global insurance companies. Point number one, we offer higher growth than global insurance companies and the current Indian lending organizations. Okay, I'm talking from a basket to basket approach. So the entire life insurance and general insurance sector and even mutual fund sector can grow equal or actually faster than the banking balance sheets. Okay. So therefore we would prefer them, or therefore there is a higher weight allocation than the benchmark weightages to these segments in our portfolio.
Got your point. So going forward, how are we planning to make our portfolio, and how are we going to position ourselves? Any significant changes which we are planning?
No, not necessarily. But yes, we will actively look at, say, the new IPOs, like the Paytms and the Policybazaars of the world. If they come at appropriate price, and maybe such businesses, we would actively look and add weightages in that companies. And someone has to, because generally I remain invested between 95 to 99%. So somebody has to maybe make a way for them to be entered into the portfolio. But yes, would see these companies in the next few months whenever they get listed.
So one question, Dhaval, which is probably not directly linked to what we are discussing, but you said that if fintech companies come at a reasonable valuation, how do we define that valuation is reasonable, especially if a company is not making profit? How do we decide that?
That's a $1 million question you've asked. तो नहीं ऐसा easy नहीं है आपको बताना कि हम कैसे उसको वैल्यू करेंगे, because आज सब लोग it is shooting in the dark, ideally speaking. So maybe how will I value? I can tell you that, but I am not sure whether that is a given approach or that is a, I would say, market approved approach. because generally when we look at banks, we look at price to book or price to earnings. We look at general insurance, we look at price to earnings, or life insurance, we look at price to embedded value or price to EVOP as the matrix, right? These are more time tested or maybe market approved by the analyst to an extent. But say the internet companies or fintech companies, the tendency today, if one has to look at how to value them, one, I will have to look at Globe. There is a humongous liquidity fray in the private markets than the public markets globally. So money chasing these private sector internet stroke tech companies is huge, and people start valuing them on price to sales, where sales could actually be not earning sales. Basically, I'm saying कि EBITDA भी profit नहीं होता है companies का, और majority companies का नहीं होता है. Forget interest cost, forget anything else. They don't even make revenue earnings, means fixed cost को हटा देते हैं अपन. So there is a concept called contribution margin, which tech companies or these companies have a thought process. So even that is not achieved by these companies, or that contribution margin number is also not good enough. So not to confuse you further, the simple stuff I can tell you is price to sales, enterprise value to sales would be few metrics one would follow these days or look at right now valuing these companies. But in the longer run, one will have to get back to looking at the profits and EBITDA values these companies deliver. The more important point valuing these companies is their opportunity size. On a serious note, that what is the addressable market these companies have and what is the value disruption they bring on the table. आज की डेट पे बैंकिंग का जो प्रॉफिट पूल है उसको कैसे डिसरप्ट करके maybe not tomorrow, maybe 3 years down the line, वो profit वो कैसे लेके जा सकता है. You look at, I'll give a simple example. And maybe 3 years back, you wouldn't have expected so much of valuation, say, to a player like a Zerodha, right? Look at the amount of profit they are making now versus the broking industry. And I've seen so much in terms of mutual fund distribution as well as broking, and you worked in MOSL in past, or you've seen businesses like these. You can see the profit pool actually went nowhere for last 10 years before 2018-19. Or you look at the last 2 years, now everybody is saying कि सब लोग घर पे थे, work from home था या सब different तरीके से काम कर रहे थे, तो सबने अपना डीमैट अकाउंट खुलवा दिया, right? That was this push needed, right? Which these incumbent companies never were able to deliver, whether it is the retail brokings like Motilal Oswal, ICICI Securities or HDFC Securities, but say the angel broking or for that matter Zerodha were able to deliver high growth, get in so many new demat account holders in the country. अपना 130-140 करोड़ का population तो वही है, वो तो था ही 2 साल पहले भी था, अभी भी है. We have not grown 10-20 crores only in the last 1 year or 2 years. So in fact अभी तो COVID की वजह से problem हुआ है. But point I'm trying to say is that fintech can drive like this. So आज profit expect करना difficult है, but अगर basis the addressable market, basis how they have been able to penetrate and their demonstration of the same and the amount of capital they have it on the balance sheets, because if you're going to be loss making company for a few years, you will again and again need fresh capital to fund. तो वो कौन भरेगा, राइट? तो बिजनेस मैच्योर हुआ है नहीं हुआ है, शायद मैच्योरिटी लेवल पे 3 साल में आ जाएगा, इसलिए आज आप आईपीओ कर रहे हो फ्रेश पैसा रेस करके. सो डिफरेंट बिजनेसेस वुड हैव डिफरेंट क्वेश्चंस टू बी आस्क्ड. हमारा काम है राइट क्वेश्चन पूछना, राइट तरीके से कंपनी को एनालाइज करना, और फिर अगर सही लगा तो आगे मतलब वी कीप इवैल्यूएटिंग एंड कीप एडिंग पोजीशंस.
So it will be very specific and subjective matter, right? Case
to case, yeah, completely, यार. मतलब say some company like Zomato, we were bullish, many others were bullish. ऐसा नहीं है कि हम अकेले हाउस से या वगैरह. So, but then there are many companies which will come with the name of either delivery or tech in the name. But हम सारी companies देखेंगे ऐसा जरूरी नहीं है, right?
वेरी इंटरेस्टिंग। हम फ्यूचर की बात कर रहे हैं और इनोवेशन की बात कर रहे हैं, और हमारे फ्यूचर हमें स्क्रीन पे दिख गए, जो हमारी फ्यूचर जनरेशन। इट
Yeah.
इज रियली सुपर्ब टाइमिंग जो हुई है। सो कोइंसिडेंस, बट मजेदार कोइंसिडेंस। आई थिंक
A point to drive with the new generation is that this new generation may not go to bank branches. They would be the guys who would only use these disruptors. So we need to think, right? India is actually 27, 28 years average age population. Working age population is so young. And like my son or maybe many others, these guys may not. My son, I'll give a very simple example. You did not ask, but because he was around fidgeting here, and maybe our audience were getting disturbed because of me, or I'll just give an example. He knows the name Policy Bazaar because he's heard it on the TV and he knows ye kya hai, but he may not be knowing many other insurance company names. So that's the difference. Maybe this generation may know Policy Bazaar even when they become big, maybe. Or maybe the halo effect of all these fintech companies or the publicity they do. Everybody knows Paytm actually, but they don't make good business or big revenue or big profits at this juncture to analyze very easily. Sorry for the very long answer, but
very interesting insight. And it was very interesting कि किस तरीके से आपने अपने child का example देते हुए बताया कि he is more well versed with the new fintech companies which are around even at such a young age. Probably आने वाले समय में ऐसा ही कुछ हो सकता है.
Yeah, see, the fintech companies also important factor would be, are they pan India companies? Because India is a very big market. Most important, you could be a niche company, then you may get only niche market cap or niche multiples, or not necessarily very high, because you need to be attracting that high market size, the addressable market size, and the profit pool the market should have. Right. So example I gave you about Zerodha, right? A lot of youngsters today, right? They age between 18 to 25. They only operate or know Demat account online.
Absolutely.
और आज से 3 साल पहले मुझे आप पूछो और मुझे अभी भी पूछो, मुझे प्रॉफिट पूल नहीं दिखता है ब्रोकिंग, एटलीस्ट द ओल्ड ब्रोकिंग कंपनीज में. ठीक है, तो प्रॉफिट पूल ग्रो भी नहीं हो रहा था. तो दिस गाइज एक्चुअली कट अवे देयर प्रॉफिट पूल्स with some growth in the market. Okay. What my thought process for lending and fintech otherwise is, they will be actually enabler of increasing the businesses. As lending business in India still has a long way for penetration. Insurance and general insurance in AMC, they are not even scratched surface. So the big picture view, if one has to ask, today we are not even, or we are just close to $2,000 per capita income. Our average. The rural markets or semi-urban average is actually 20% below that number. Maybe the urban markets is actually 30-40% higher, and maybe cities like top metros like would have already 3,500 type of per capita. Now, why I make so many numbers and confuse you? Because all these markets have different type of penetration when it comes to financial services products. Okay, but on a India basis, we have a long way to go when it comes to whether it is life insurance, term insurance. The most profitable product in the life insurance business is the term insurance product, and very difficult to sell. Okay. Second most important. So I'll give you one more example. Health insurance business, right? हमारे पोर्टफोलियो में सबसे बड़ा स्टॉक हुआ करता है ICICI जनरल इंश्योरेंस, बिकॉज जनरल इंश्योरेंस बिजनेस मेरे हिसाब से अगले 10 साल के लिए इजीली 15% केगर ग्रो कर सकता है. ठीक है, एंड इट्स द लार्जेस्ट प्राइवेट सेक्टर प्ले एंड अ वेरी एफिशिएंटली मैनेज्ड बिजनेस. नाउ आई विल टेल यू, देयर इज वन IPO कंपनी, स्टार हेल्थ इंश्योरेंस. नाउ यू नॉट आस्क्ड, बट आई एम जस्ट इन्फॉर्मिंग कि आपको इजी रहेगा कनेक्ट करने के लिए माय इनसाइट्स और थॉट प्रोसेस, कि they have 30%, close to 30% market share in the health insurance business in India, the retail health insurance business in India. तो ये मार्केट एक्चुअली कैसा है कि बहुत डिफिकल्ट टू क्रैक करना था. आज से 10 साल पहले रिटेल लेंडिंग करना बहुत डिफिकल्ट था. तो इसके लिए HDFC बैंक, ICICI बैंक, एक्सिस बैंक करता था, और स्टेट बैंक ने शुरू किया था 2008 के बाद होम लोन सस्ते में देना और होम लोन्स को अपना मार्केट बनाना. आज अगर आप देखोगे तो सबको रिटेल करना है, तो पैसा नहीं बनेगा ना. तो वैसे ही है ये, वेदर वी टॉक अबाउट फिनटेक, वेदर वी टॉक अबाउट इंश्योरेंस, और वी टॉक अबाउट म्यूचुअल फंड और मेनी सच मार्केट्स विद इन इंडिया. वन, you'll have to be looking broader, पैन इंडिया बेसिस पे कौन डेवलप कर पा रहा है, डीपन कर सकता है, फास्टर ग्रोथ दे सकता है, और सेकंड ये बहुत हार्डवर्क वाला काम होगा, ओवरनाइट कुछ नहीं बनने वाला है.
Very interesting insight, Dhaval. Even I remember that when I was studying, no, at that time, maybe in 2012-13 में ICICI बैंक को रिटेल का किंग बोलते थे because they had around 51% book in retail. Now, if we talk about, everyone is probably trying and pitching the same number and same percentage in retail. So very interestingly quoted. And I think I have covered all the questions, Prashant sir. Dhaval sir, thank you so much for interacting. Any closing remarks?
Maybe you want to cover any questions from the chat window, Prashant or Anand?
Yeah, Dhaval. So what we'll do is quickly, we have about 5 minutes with us before we wind up. So let me take some of the audience questions. One question that I'm seeing, Dhaval, coming up, we already spoke a little bit on fintech and new age, neo banking. So in the light of the digital disruption that we've seen in the last 18 months or so, how do you see the leadership position being challenged of these large private sector banks, which today are the largest holdings in our portfolio?
So good question. So as I mentioned, right, I still see fintech in India more of enabler and not completely disruptor in the lending segment piece. And when we look at HDFC Bank, ICICI Bank, SBI or Axis, they are more lending profits which these guys make versus in general the overall banking franchise profits. So definitely they are the biggest distributors and profit makers from a product distribution of insurance, mutual funds and all the financial services products. But money is always made when you lend loans or distribute loans. So ideally speaking, after lending, the most important job is to recover that loan from the individuals. जो fintech companies अभी तक demonstrate नहीं कर पाई है करने के लिए. So therefore I say कि they would be enabler to reach that below the poverty line or the bottom of the pyramid when it comes to doing retail loans, जो banks नहीं कर पाती है easily, and maybe share risk of credit, and banks use their collection mechanism. So maybe today what I see is partnership model can be flourishing until unless somebody who's able to do everything what bank does in a fintech approach could be a big winner. But I don't see any live example of that today. Maybe Rajiv Jain, CEO of Bajaj Finance, recently quoted कि इंडिया में काफी कंपनीज हैं जिनको $1 billion प्लस मार्केट कैप ऑलरेडी मिल गया है या वैल्यूएशन मिल गया है इन प्राइवेट मार्केट्स, बट अभी तक एक भी ऐसा बैलेंस शीट नहीं है जिसका $1 billion का लोन्स है. So the point is the potential is there, but we need to see live examples who can actually deliver what a Bajaj Finance has done. Forget banks. Banks तो उसके अलग है, आगे है, because they do all the products.
So Dhaval, my next question to you is that, typically one question that we always encounter when we talk about sectoral or thematic funds, and particularly banking and financial services, is that banking and financial services, वैसे भी आप कोई भी fund उठा लो, large cap, flexi cap, तो 40% तो वैसे ही होता है. तो मैं वैसे भी कोई भी fund लेता हूँ, तो I have significant exposure towards banking and financial services. Why are you recommending me to add to that another banking and financial services and making my portfolio so skewed towards banking and financial? So what would be your reply to this argument?
So right now the opportunity as such, as I said, I told you this after a long period that year to date, banking has actually underperformed close to 800 basis points to the broader indices. तो आज की डेट पे आपको वो एक एक्स्ट्रा रिटर्न है, और मैं आपको लास्ट 10 साल का ट्रैक रिकॉर्ड बता चुका हूँ कि how financial services index or bank nifty index have outperformed nifty or broader maybe BSE 200 index on a consistent basis, but last 1 साल में नहीं किया है. So therefore it's a good opportunity to enter. So one, I feel it is a secular growth story sector, and therefore you should be owning, and therefore it has a larger weight in the overall nifty and broader indices. Second important point is today, because of COVID waves, the sector has underperformed a lot in the last 1.5 to 2 years. Plus, there was a thought process which everybody's mind has is the digital or fintech-led disruptions, right? Because as I showed you this chart, private banks have actually underperformed the Bank Nifty index overall, maybe because of some stocks like Kotak Bank or HDFC Bank or larger banks as such. So I feel it's time that they could turn around very fast. The only risk today, what I come to see is that if there is a Dracunal wave 3, COVID wave 3, फिंगर्स क्रॉस्ड, अगर वो नहीं है तो कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं होना चाहिए.
Sure. So, Dhaval, the next question is from Mr. Krunal Gandhi. He's asking your views on one of the stocks in the portfolio, SBI Cards.
I am positive on that company as such. It was the worst affected when it comes to COVID waves because they do unsecured lending or credit card business, right? And we are paying a very high growth multiple to this company. It trades close to 35-40 times 1 year forward. So it's not easy to build position into such companies if the macro or the on the ground scenarios are little weak, or actually very weak when one has to look last 12 months. But from here on, if there is no wave 3, I think there is possibility a big upside in that name. I'll read maybe participation in ABSL banking ETF. It is just general. Whenever we are actually very positive on markets, and if market moves up very sharply, we get ETF prices on a live basis and we can enter these stocks. Sometime what happens is that there are few banks which we own, right? ICICI Bank or Axis Bank, we cannot buy more than what the benchmark weightages are. So therefore, we try to buy these, and it's very small position, only less than 1.5% of the portfolio. So it's not a big overlap or anything like that. Then we bought Poonawalla Fincorp. So question is why we are holding such name. There was some recent governance issue. The governance issue is not clarified. Actually speaking, I have a meeting with Poonawalla Finance today at 5:45 after this meeting. To understand more about the company, but we will take an action if at all appropriate. But we remain very positive on that name that the company can actually see turnaround. It's a small position today. If the company does well, we look to increase the stake in that company further. On the churn rate, maybe the last 12 to 18 months is not a period one should be looking for a churn rate as such, because a lot of things change in the markets as such. And you should not look at the number of stocks for a sectoral fund, because you need to also look at what is the benchmark funds stocks, ideally how many stocks the benchmark also has. But we'll look at this point or keep this mind or take this as a positive feedback to keep in mind about the churn ratio or as such. But yes, last 18 months had a lot of new lessons or new things to learn, and there could be one of the reason. If you look at a long-term portfolio, and long-term churn ratio would be far lower than the numbers are being written or asked for.
Sure. So quickly, let me take the next one from Anand and we get an advisor's perspective. So Anand, typically when we talk of sectoral and thematic funds, the general thought is that ये जो products होते हैं बड़े cyclical होते हैं, it's meant for savvy investors. इसमें जो entry exit है उसको आपको time करना पड़ता है. Since आपका business, from what I understand, is more retail SIP driven, how is it that you look at a sectoral or thematic fund within your advisory?
See, firstly, usually sectoral fund जो हम use करते हैं, we use it as a tactical call. Just for example, last October, November, banking sector or financial sector was underperforming. So that was probably the time जहाँ पे हमें दिखा कि यार there is a significant underperformance, especially अगर हम देखते हैं PSU side पे there was significant underperformance. So ऐसे कुछ समय पे we try and use some of the sector funds to allocate to our clients or to talk about with our clients. Other than that, I think अगर कोई heavy investor है, कोई high portfolio investor है, high net worth investor है, if he is taking some tactical calls, it's absolutely okay.
Sure. So we are completely running out of time. Let me take the last question for Dhaval. So Dhaval, you've been managing this fund practically from inception, 2013, and the last 9 years, this fund has been a very, very steady compounder. What is it that advisors and investors can expect from the Aditya Birla Sun Life Banking and Financial Services and Dhaval Gala going forward?
We'll try to repeat the same. Not easy task looking at the way things are, but yes, just to leave you guys with a conclusion or a thought process which we as a house have. One important point of view is if the per capita increase, GDP per capita income, which is close to $2,000 today, we expect this number to go to $3,500 over a period of next 6-7 years. Financial services business actually see a huge growth. Means that's history. We've seen it in the US markets and other markets. मैं इंडिया की बात नहीं कर सकता हूँ क्योंकि अपन पहली बार उतना per capita increment देखेंगे. But historically, if you look at between $2,000 to $4,000, lending businesses and financial services business flourish. Okay, so very, very clearly, I have that view. So would at least try to repeat this success which we had in the last 7-8 years of existence for Aditya Birla Sun Life Banking and Financial Services Fund. But yes, if the broader economic growth grows faster, right? So we had a difficult time as a country between 2010 to 20 from a growth expectation point of view. So just to conclude, the point here is that very clearly there is a possibility of per capita increase materially. We likely to reach more than $5 trillion, if not by 2025, but maybe a year or two ahead. After that, today, if you look at our market cap to GDP ratio is beyond 100%. It's close to 110% today. During the peak of pandemic or 2020, March 2020, April 2020, we were 80% to market to GDP. US is north of 200%. China is not, because China market is not open as such the way India market is very open to everybody, global investors as well as domestic investors. So ideally ये यहाँ पे भी रहेगा रेशियो, तो मार्केट कैप ग्रोथ तो बहुत पॉसिबिलिटी है पूरे कंट्री के लिए. And my opinion is it will be always be financial services driven.
Great.
So maybe
I think
for all the mutual fund advisors, including Anand, this should be one of your key selling point.
Surely.
Perfect. So I think that's a great, insight and a lot of interesting data to close this conversation with. Thank you so much, Dhaval, for joining us today and sharing your insights. Thank you so much, Anand, for joining us today and making this interaction so rich. And thank you to all our audiences, all our advisors and investors who joined us on this platform today. Look forward to connecting with all of you on this platform every Wednesday, same time. Till such time that we meet again, stay safe, take good care of yourselves, and have a great evening ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, Prashant. Thank you, Anand. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much.
Mutual fund investments are subject to market risks. Read all scheme-related documents carefully.